Hey YouTube! Thanks for joining the Shadow Vixen. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different foundations for you guys today. She has her own ones that she's tried, her own brands. I've tried my own brands, so we're just going to kind of spitball on our reactions,
and
first
they're like
impressions,
all
and
different,
favorites.
so you get like a wide spectrum of different foundations to use.
Also, are you oily? Would you say oily or dry?
I am pretty oily in my T-zone.
I'm seasonal, so depending on what time of the year it is, I can be dry and I can be oily. So I have to change my foundation across the 4 seasons, so all of them are going to be different. They're going to be different consistencies, different heaviness, lightness levels, things like that. So you're going to get a wide variety, like she said.
And me, it's probably more of my primers. Like, I could say my skin is consistent throughout the year, but I've noticed different primers help me from staying like too oily, so I don't look like a grease ball or anything like that. But for my foundation, I could use the same foundation pretty much all year long, and as long as I'm using the right primer for that season, I could say I'm pretty much okay. But I'm pretty consistent throughout the year.
I would say I'm a primer cheater, so maybe I'm not setting myself up for success with that, but I just like to try different products, so I try different primers. I experiment with the different ones across the year, and currently right now I'm using Cover FX, which is a mattifying one. So far I'm decently satisfied with it, but I can't give it a rave review. Maybe more on that coming as the season is transitioning from, what, winter to spring? Or spring to summer?
It's actually spring, so it'll be spring to summer right now. Spring
to summer transition then. So during the summertime, obviously, you're sweating more, it's hotter, so where we live in Los Angeles, it's more humid, dry? Not humid, dry, sorry, that's not even a thing.
No. It's very bipolar. We don't know what we're going to get.
It's all over the map.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, you could at least count on it to be hot.
Yeah.
So basically, that's why, you know, you're more prone to be oily than you are, which is why I'm transitioning out of my winter favorite. So I guess I'll start?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're transitioning out of winter? Okay, cool. My winter favorite is the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Full Coverage. It is a mousse-like consistency. I'm going to open it so you guys can kind of see when I squeeze it out a little bit. It is almost done, but it's like a very like frothy mousse-like thing, if you guys can see that. I very much so love this for the winter because it just goes on like mousse on your face. And it's blendable. I use it, I apply it with the same Tarte Kabuki that it came with in the kit. Very full coverage, very light coverage though, but again too heavy for when you're transitioning to summer, so I always have to leave this guy every time it transitions out of that. Currently we're in spring, so I am using the Chanel Perfection La Mer. This is a very light formula, and I'm not a huge fan of it because I have to use more concealer with this guy than I do with the Tarte Amazonian Clay. In fact, with Amazonian Clay, I don't even use a concealer at all most of the time. So the fact that I have to do that with the Perfection Lumiere, not a huge fan of. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that this was a replacement for the matte Lumiere, and they no longer carry that line. So this is thin, but that's nice if it's like the summer and you're not a very or if you're kind of dry, or not dry, but oily, you'd probably really appreciate this formula, but you have to use way more concealer than you would want to with a normal foundation. And then the other one that I usually like to use during the summer is the Hello Flawless by Benefit Oxygen Wow. As you can see, this guy's like almost out, so I need to get a new one, but this is a great summer foundation, but I'm wanting to get back to what my all-time favorite is, and I would say my all-time favorite is, I just picked up a new one tonight, the Matte Velvet from Makeup Forever. And that looks like this. It doesn't look like my color at all, which I just discovered because the older packaging used to actually show through your color. This is more of like a frosted plastic version of it. But this is the amazing, all year round, if you could only pick one mattifying foundation, you would want it to be this one because it blends really well into your skin and it's pretty much flawless coverage. I don't remember having to use a concealer with that, however it has been a full 4 seasons since the last time I've used this guy, clearly. So I'll get back to you guys on that with another video if there are any, like, I have to adjust it with one thing or the other or set it with anything in particular. But this was my lowest maintenance one that I can remember. I didn't have to use a whole lot of concealer, I didn't have to use a lot of setting powders or mattifying primers or anything of that sort. So what are your favorites?
Again, like I mentioned, I am very consistent throughout the year, so I don't really have to change as often, but right now, and I know a lot of people like have mixed reviews about MAC, but I could really say that the MAC Matchmaster foundation has been really, really good to me. It's very, very lightweight, and it's not as like thick as some of their other ones like Studio Tech. But if you like that full coverage, that's cool. I'm the type of person, I'm really not into like the heavy makeup. I do like it to still kind of look like my skin. And I like that it's very buildable. So like if I put on one and I feel like it didn't cover as much, I could put more on. But because usually too, if I go out, I kind of highlight and contour, I always build with other products. So I feel like it's just a good like base foundation for me. And this is what I actually have on right now. And like I said, I really like this one. It's really good. My skin is 8.0. I'm an 8.0 in the MAC Matchmaster. And like I said, I really like this one. I recently wanted to try the BH Cosmetics foundation. It was like really, really affordable, like cheap on the website. I got it on sale. I think it was like $3.95. Plus like the shipping, it probably came up to like $5 or so. I originally, I think, purchased, I'm trying to see, because I bought two because I couldn't figure out what was going to be my skin tone. I'll swatch them here for you guys. So I originally bought the Deep Cocoa, and they're really close. You guys can't really see it, but the colors are really, really similar to each other, and they also come in like this frosted little bottle, like glass bottle. But the colors were really, really similar. One had a little bit more like orange tone, and another one was a more like milky chocolate. I actually like the more milk chocolate, which was the Deep Cocoa. I can say it's probably like a medium coverage if you apply it, but it is also very buildable. It has a slight fragrance too when you put it on, but like after a while, once you're doing your makeup, you really don't smell it. But for an affordable like foundation, I think it really works really good, especially for people maybe that are just starting out and like, you know, want to test out some things. Again, it's very buildable. It also kind of gives you a slight sheen. So if you like your makeup more matte, you probably want to make sure you have like a good primer or a good powder to set it with, because it does kind of give you a slight sheen, which is okay for me. But I really like the fact that it's very, 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 very buildable. So I play with this sometimes. I wouldn't say it's like my ultimate favorite, but it would be like a nice alternative to go to. And again, it was $3.95. It's better than most drugstore, I could say, foundations that I've tried. I have another one that I tried out tonight when we went to get her Makeup Forever. It's Makeup Forever the HD. That felt so good on my skin. Like, it was lightweight, it was smooth. I could say that's probably another one that's very buildable. Again, I don't like really strong full coverage makeup. I like things that are lightweight that you could build on. Like, I'm not saying like I have the best skin, but I still like to give you a nice flawless airbrush kind of finish look, and I feel like that's what the HD foundation can do to you. I know a lot of people have reviewed it. I can't wait. That's gonna actually be my next purchase because it felt so good. I just thought the price was different, but we found out it really wasn't that much. But I can't wait to try that one. And the last foundation, it's another one, unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry, I don't have with me. I wish I would have brought it, but it's the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. That hands down has been my #1 top foundation ever. It is a little pricey. I think it's almost like $70, probably with tax and everything. I had bought it from Nordstrom's, the Nordstrom counter there. But when I say that is like the best flawless foundation I've had, it gives you the best airbrush look ever. Like, that was probably one of my favorite foundations ever. When I ran out, I almost lost my mind. But that is one that if you're looking for a higher end one and you have the money, I would recommend that one for sure. But for an everyday nice look, I would also recommend the MAC Matchmaster, because that's what I wear most of the year. And this one is also pretty affordable. I think this was in $28 maybe, I think. But again, it's perfect for me. I really like this one. So this would be my recommendation if you don't have the money to spend like on Armani. But that one is really great. I love it.
Yeah. So really the biggest thing with foundations is For some people, like, she can get away with using the same one all year round because she knows her skin, she's adapted to it, and it doesn't really require much extra effort. If you're the type like me that has to change seasonally, so be it. Just that's why I wouldn't necessarily want to invest on a super expensive one, but I also would like to keep the, for some reason, store-bought ones don't really work for me. I've tried a couple of them. I look like a ghost. So
yeah, they don't, honestly, it does the same thing to me. I've really tried different ones, and I don't like them. Like, I tried to experiment with, like, CoverGirl, Revlon, and I honestly, I end up going back and returning most
about
of them.
the difference between, higher ends and drugstore colors. For darker skinned people, it seems to be harder to find a good match in the drugstore.
It really is. Drugstore, and like you said, higher end. A lot of higher end brands sometimes don't really have the right foundation for brown skinned girls. It's like, again, either really extreme or really light. Like, it's hard to find like that exact one. Like, I like the Armani, but honestly, when I first tried, I did have to slightly mix some a little bit, but I did end up finding one that matched me a little bit better because it was like one of those true tone. Like, after a while, it just still like blended with my color. But it's hard, and that's why too I would recommend the BH Cosmetics, because for a very inexpensive brand, they have colors that I honestly think will match almost any color. And I just recently ordered some of their lighter tones. I bought mocha, hazelnut, and golden beige because I'm like starting my kit, and I used golden beige on my sister. She's lighter than me, and it worked really well. Sure. So I could say that BH Cosmetics is a really great brand to start out that's inexpensive, that you could test out. I would recommend that honestly over drugstore. I'm not saying I'm against drugstore, but my experience just hasn't been the best.
Yeah, definitely. It's ashen. It dries you out. It might clog your pores. It's a thicker material, or not material, but consistency on the inside, all that good stuff. So I have always deviated towards the middle to high end. And that's just because that's what works best for me. There are some people who have very unique skin tones that might have 2 or 3 underlying tones beneath their skin tone, and they need to mix 2. That's another reason to stay on the more conservative level than, purchasing, what was it, the one you had, the Armani? Mm-hmm. Or like Givenchy or Dior that charge or even Chanel that charges $62 per bottle. You're going to be spending $10-$20 just doing that. So it's like, if you have to mix, try to stay on the conservative end, but also look at, when you're shopping for foundations, look for how much product you're getting in the different bottles, because a lot of them now are starting to cheat with these bottle shapes. And you're thinking, okay, well, this is a nice solid shaped bottle, but the frosted glass is really kind of deceptive because it's not showing you the curvature of the inside of the bottle. So look at the ounces, look at the fluid ounces, and try to keep an eye on how often you're running out if you're a daily user.
Especially if you're a heavy user. If you're one that you like that full coverage, it's you gotta really look and see how many ounces you're getting, because a little could go a long way. Because I build on it. But again, if you're one that's a heavy user, then you're gonna run out of your bottles pretty quick. So you do want to be pretty conservative, and watch out for that.
Yeah, because even in me comparing her Matchmaster to my Perfection Lumiere, she's got 1.2 ounces and I've only got 1. So and these bottles almost look complementary to each other, but you're obviously getting a whole lot less product. And the same is true for the ones that kind of have this whole pump design. This is actually 1 ounce, so Benefit Oxygen Wow was pretty good about that, but some of these, the base stops like here, or starts here, so just be aware of what your packaging looks like.
The base here is a little thick. This is the BH Cosmetics again, guys. Let's see. And this is actually 0.85 ounces.
Yeah.
But it's a cheaper one.
Cheaper, yeah.
So you got to give or take that. But, when you look at the bottle, you think that that's pretty big. But again, I think still as a cheaper alternative, it's okay. But those are things you definitely want to look out for.
What are your feelings about, because we've only talked about liquid and liquid mousse formulations. How do you feel about powders as opposed to liquids, as opposed to creams? What are your thoughts?
I haven't really tried or experimented too much with powder foundation, but I have tried, what is it?
Cream?
Cream.
Mm-hmm. Have you tried the Studio Fix and cream?
Yes.
What were your thoughts?
Again, I don't like to feel like I have on makeup. And when I tried that, I felt like, you know, clay was kind of on my face.
Yeah.
And there are ways to kind of lighten that up. If you actually apply a little lotion to it, it actually thins it up a little bit and gives it a little bit like smoother, softer tone. But again, it was still too heavy for me. But you can lighten it up with just a little lotion. If you add that, it will lighten the consistency. But I didn't like the way it felt, honestly.
Yeah. Cream-based ones, even in my experience, because I also do have, most of the time, I would say oily as opposed to just regular skin. Having a cream-based foundation on oilyish, even in the slightest bit, oilyish skin is not the greatest, like, thing that you could do for yourself. So definitely liquids work best for me. On the flip side of that, I found that powders are not good for me either. They make me very ashy. They make me very... And that's funny because it's when you're applying it at the beginning of the day, you look ashen, but at the end of the day, I seem to be more oily. So it's like, neither one of those extremes, completely dry, nor like, you know, completely clay-like, creamy, whatever, are better than liquid for me. So also knowing yourself and what your skin likes and doesn't like. And also, I mean, there's a big difference between how you apply it. I'm beginning to find multiple techniques. You know, beauty blenders, some people use a dry beauty blender, some people use a wet one, or regular sponge, regular wet, regular not. And then some people like brushes. I am hands down a brush person. I am not a fan of applying my foundations with these kinds of guys.
This is my favorite applicator for my foundation.
So you like the stippling brush?
I like the stippling brush.
I only use my stippling brush for my blush application. So for me, my Kabuki from Tarte is my go-to that I reach for every single day, and these guys are actually my concealer brushes. So it's weird because this covers a wide breadth of area for me.
Yeah.
But why do you like your stippling?
This, and by the way, just if you guys are wondering, I'm trying to figure out which one this is. This is the MAC 187 brush, the stippling brush. Again, it just kind of goes on a little bit like Flawless, kind of like airbrush. I could do circular motions. I could also do this way and this motion, and it just gives me a very soft, and I feel like it kind of seeps into the skin a little bit. That's why I like that airbrush look with the stippling brush.
Interesting. Okay. I'm definitely a huge fan of my Tarte Kabuki because look at the bristle density on this brush. I mean, you're getting, you know, I don't even know how many thousands of bristles or fibers, you know, per centimeter, and you're getting a lot of coverage in this. It's making it very easy for you to just do the same circular motions you were talking about. So, and I find that this works best when I keep the brush as clean as possible because obviously, you know, like with all brushes, paint brushes, whatever have you, if you get it wet, the bristles tend to clump together. And that's when you're getting less, you know, you're getting more of a streaky type of look. And that's why I don't use these, because of the same streaky look. So if I'm trying to just get into like my corner spots, I wouldn't even use that for this. Or this for that. I would use something more like this is Sephora Professional. And this is the number 56. This is their Airbrush Precision Foundation Brush, and that's exactly what it is. It's a precision foundation brush that allows me to get right in under my eyes, into my nose areas, and under my jawline, things like that. So I use these two guys for foundation, but it's just, you know, knowing what works best for not only for you, for how you like to apply your foundation, but what formula you're using as well.
And again, I'm pretty much simple. I kind of use this one, the MAC stippling brush, again for my foundation. If I'm putting on any concealer, honestly, I use my fingers because I like how my fingers is very sensitive in here. So just to warm that up a little bit, I use my fingers just to warm up the product and really blend it in. And then I take a beauty blender sponge, which this one isn't the beauty blender. I actually just got this from my local beauty supply store, Sally's. It came 2 in a pack. It was really cute. I think they were like $6 or so much cheaper than the beauty blender. So far, I like them, but I'll also use this to kind of get in the crease there and blend out my concealer here and in my T-zone area if I put any concealer there. So that's all I really use, honestly, kind of like these two things for makeup, foundation, and my concealer. So that's pretty much it.
Alright, so there you guys have kind of like a full spectrum of brands, of types, and of application types and techniques and things like that. And we hope you enjoyed this video. Bye, YouTube!